how have you felt just personally watching what's unfolded over this week?
You know, it's gut-wrenching and it's deeply painful. And I think what's painful about it is the frustration that yet another black man has died, unarmed black man, at the hands of police officers. And immediately the rightful thing, we're outraged about this incident, but I've seen this pattern play out where you see an uproar of outrage, but then we get back into a regular system where we don't understand that this is not a sometimes thing. This kind of racism, this kind of bigotry is so institutionalized that it puts so many of our fellow countrymen and women at risk every day. And it's our criminal justice system, which I know you know so much about, but it's our healthcare system as well, with black women dying 4 times the rate in childbirth than white women. It's in our environment as well. Still, race is the best indicator if you are going to live around a toxic environment or a toxic dump. We have deep problems in our country, and what is heartbreaking to me is the utter lack of urgency to do something about it. We know that there are practical things we can do to create deeper accountability, transparency, and frankly, policing in this country to improve it and bring it into the 21st century. Indeed, President Obama had an entire task force that came up with dozens of recommendations, none of which we've seen on the federal level put into place. And so I see a lot of consternation right now, a lot of people talking about the protesters and talking about some of the violence that's going on. And I condemn violence in every form, but God bless America. Can't we realize that we also need to condemn the conditions that make such protest, such outrage, such a regular thing in our country?
You've spoken a lot, I think, sort of thematically, both in your public life and during your presidential campaign and as a senator, about kind of trying to find common ground. And it's been interesting to watch the development of the story, which I've seen this before. I remember actually this happened with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, which is that in the beginning, the initial response was actually quite sort of unanimous. I mean, people watched that video and thought that's wrong. I've seen conservatives say that. I've seen liberals say that. I've seen all sorts of people say that. They look at that video, they say, this is wrong. That's unjust and wrong and terrible. And then as time goes on, this sort of sorting happens. You see conservative media, particularly conservative politicians, talking about the looting or the rioting or burning buildings, and that becomes the focus. And liberals and others talk about racial injustice and racial inequity. Like, what is your reaction to watching that sorting happening, particularly when it is encouraged so explicitly and so grossly by the president?
Well, the president doesn't surprise me. There's nothing he can do anymore that can surprise me, shock me. He's incapable of breaking my heart. But I am a big believer, I say all the time, if America hasn't broken your heart, you don't love her enough, because there are deep injustices. And look, the reality for issues like this, as time goes on beyond this, is going to be the test of whether we understand that peace is not merely the absence of violence, it's the presence of justice. And so many people are living in this country without peace, with every single day fear. I thought a lot about this last day or two, about just my regret that I am now, it's been 30, 40 years since my parents had this conversation with me, where there was fear in their eyes, when I realized that my parents, my heroes, were afraid of police officers. And I had that conversation. I wish we lived in a nation that 30 plus years later, there weren't still hundreds of thousands of parents feeling like they have to teach their black boys about how not to get killed by police. And so there's a consensus, and I know this from friends of mine on the other side of the aisle, that, hey, they know racism exists, but I'm not a racist. The question, if racism exists, is not are you or are you not a racist? It's are you or are you not doing something about racism? Because racism and the toxins that promote such injustices in our society don't just go away. You have to be, it's not enough not to be a racist. As Angela Davis said, you have to be anti-racist. You have to be actively confronting the truth within our society, raising it up so there can be a deeper healing. And finding a constructive language for our country to have conversations, not only after some horrific act of violence, but in the aftermath of that to prevent more acts of violence to come. We have work to do in this nation to heal and to come together and to realize we belong to each other and we need each other. But right now, the data that we see, from employment information all the way to marijuana laws, where no difference between blacks or whites for using the drug, but there was more marijuana arrests in 2017 than all violent crime arrests combined, and blacks were 4 times more likely to be arrested for it. So these are data points that do not speak to the heart and the grievous realities that each one of those data points impact the lives of people who are being destroyed, who can't get a job, can't get a loan from the bank, for doing things that 2 of the last 3 presidents admitted to doing. And so there has to be people right now who are sitting at home watching this, watching what's going on. They cannot allow their inability to do everything about the problem of racism in America to stop them from doing something more than they did in the last stretch since the last videotape captured what is a regular occurrence in America. If you are not changing, then nothing will change in this country.
Senator Cory Booker, who joins us from his hometown of Newark, New Jersey tonight, where he was the mayor, oversaw that police department. They were putting in place some very interesting reforms that you could read up on, and is now the senator from New Jersey. Senator, as always, thank you for your time.
No, thank you. And you have been a truth teller on this issue, even when it was not comfortable and convenient or the news of the day. And that's what we need right now, Chris. So thank you for pushing this. And let's make sure 3 or 4 months from now, it doesn't just pass from the headlines. I hope you and I can continue to be agents to inspire the consciousness of others so we can do something really about this, make real change.